What's going on, everybody? My name is Chris, and thank you for tuning in. I've been really wanting to get some YouTube content out there for quite a while now, and I finally got settled into my new place and kind of have all my bodybuilding events out the way, and I really want to spend some time to share some of the knowledge that I have and have accumulated and just kind of give some advice, helpful tips, and tricks regards to finance and personal growth. For me, it's something I'm very passionate about as far as finance and personal growth. I'm always looking to better myself through different avenues of life, whether it be through my bodybuilding hobbies, whether it be through all my miniature painting hobbies. I have lots of different interests and things I enjoy. And I really am trying to do better as far as not being so closed off and trying to put myself out there and share what I know, because I know it could be very helpful for, even if I can just help one or two people out there. I can kind of sleep better at night knowing that I've been able to impact the world in a positive way. Now, with all that out the way, we're going to start with credit. I know it's something that a lot of people have questions on. I've gotten a lot of questions about it personally. Lots of my friends and family know me as having a really great credit score, and I just kind of want to share how I got started and how I ended up where I am today. I think as of recently, and again, if you have different credit monitoring apps or accounts with Experian or Credit Karma, what have you, they will never really align, but they'll be in generally the same ballpark. But as of recently, the highest one I was on Experian, it was 825, almost the perfect 850. So I thought that was really neat. Full disclaimer: nothing actually happens when your score is 800 plus. There's no like parade, and Wells Fargo doesn't come to your door and hand you a check, and it's not banks essentially gnawing at the bit to get you to get loans with them or anything. It just kind of happens, and it's neat, but nothing actually. There's no big hurrah at the end, essentially what I'm trying to say. And for me, it's something I was just kind of personally curious to see if I can get it that high. I've been actually working on it for about 2 years, maybe almost 3, very diligently to see how high I could get it if I'm actually laser focused and tracking it on a very regular basis. So that's how I was able to accomplish that, but I can cover that in a separate video. I really want this one to be a story of how I got to where I am. And then I can expound upon different subjects and topics as I get feedback from the viewers and really kind of get a handle on this whole YouTube thing, right? So to start, we'll go to college. And when I was 18, I went out to Colorado for college. I went to Colorado School of Mines in Golden, Colorado, and I didn't know anyone, and it was very nerve-wracking. I remember my very first interaction was with Andrea and her husband, and it was two strangers essentially picking me up. Andrea and Derek, I think, had just come from an event, and they had car seats in the back, and I was just like, hopefully these people don't take me somewhere. Hopefully they actually take me to the school. But in the end of the day, they were great people, and then still great to this day. Some of the best mentors I've ever had, but neither here nor there. And I remember getting there to that dorm and kind of going over in my mind, settle down. I know it's a new environment, but you can handle this, you can do this, and kind of being very self-encouraging. But at the same time, I knew I was in a kind of sticky financial situation. I knew I had taken out loans to go to this college. I knew that I wanted to be very financially free, as I saw my mother struggle to take care of me and my sisters when we were younger. And I didn't want that for my children. I wanted to do better for my family. I wanted to change my family tree. And so from the get-go, I had that on my mind from the jump, right? And so I want to say the next week, I went to Wells Fargo and I opened my own personal checking and savings account, and that's a whole nother ordeal because one of the accounts they opened was an overdraft account, and I'm not sure if any of you guys remember, there was this big lawsuit of Wells Fargo opening all these accounts in a very unethical manner. One of those accounts was actually mine, so I did get a reimbursement for that, but I can talk about that in more detail some other time. But at the same time, I talked to them about, how can I get a credit card? And I kind of been taught to stay away from credit cards when growing up, and people can get in trouble, and then you rack up a whole bunch of debt. People don't really know how it works. And so while I was apprehensive, I did my due diligence and I did my research, and I understood that the amount of time you have these revolving types of credit, by revolving as in you get a balance, kind of you are set to each month, And you can choose to utilize the full balance or none of it at all, but you just have to make sure you make a minimum or payment or pay off the whole balance every month. It's a cycle, right? And so I asked the guy at the bank, hey, how can I get this Wells Fargo's credit card? And I didn't have any income. I was on work study, so I guess I had that technically, but it wasn't standalone, as that was all meant to go towards my schooling. But he did say if I open, these accounts today, then it will qualify me to open this credit card, which in hindsight probably was not the best business practices to give a credit card to a kid that doesn't have a job outside of work study, but I managed to get that card. And originally it had $500 limit on it. I didn't actually, it wasn't a secured card, so I didn't have to do any deposits, as that's typically how one would get into building their credit score if they don't have credit. At the time, I did not have any credit. And so I got that card and I used that $500 in emergencies, really. I kind of had it tucked away, didn't even have it on my wallet. And I just really had it in the back of my mind. If push came to shove, I needed to get something, I didn't have the money for it, I had that $500 just in case, right? If I had the school plan, we'll go eat in our cafe and hang out on campus. And, I did go and get, my first, snack run with my own money. I think that was a very memorable experience. After that summer, we had moved in for the following semester into the dorms. I remember I had my little mini fridge. I was like, okay, time to go get some, snacks and food. So you would think I would get, fruits and vegetables, but I remember getting just like the family size oatmeal cream pies, gummies, fruit snacks, like no actual nutritious food. I think maybe I got some Nutri-Grain bars or something, but I just kind of had a bunch of snacks in my dorm. So that was kind of funny, but that's where it started. That's where the credit started building after about 2 or 3 months. It showed up on my credit report as that form of credit, that $500, and it had not the term, but the age, right? It was essentially 0 years old. And that's another component of building your credit, is how long you have these outstanding revolving credit accounts, right? Now, let's kind of fast forward a little bit. Throughout my years in college, I was able to obtain several different credit cards. What I would do, and this was my maneuver to kind of give me a buffer throughout the school year, is during the school year, if I had racked up any debt on my credit cards, I would pay the minimum balance if I could, and then during the summer when I was working through different oil and gas internships to pay really well. I would use that money to help pay for school, help pay for the following year or 2 semesters worth of expenses, whether it be food, books, rent, etc. And I would pay off my credit card balance and wipe them clean. Right, so I would carry a balance for a few months throughout the year, and then during the summers I would pay everything off and have that wiped clean. Right, I did that all the way through undergraduate and graduate school, and throughout the time I'm getting different cards that I'm seeing that are beneficial. So I remember I got a Southwest card, I had a Citibank card, they had a collegiate discount. A lot of the first cards I got were for students. Those first 2 or 3 cards were collegiately focused, and so if you could show that you were going to college and what major you in, and GPA, etc., they would give you these lines of credit. Now these were very low. They were $500, maybe $1,000, but it was just to get that age on my overall credit history up. I wanted to have a lot of different types of revolving credit from different banks, so that score, that age, was increasing over time. Right, that first card I got is my oldest, obviously. I've had it now for, 8, 9 years or so, and that's really been the anchor of really buffering any of the new cards I get, because what happens is it takes an average of the age of all your accounts, and so the older accounts have more weight, and they are more valuable to have in terms of if you need to get something new, or when you do want to get something new that's a little bit more fancier and has all the points and perks and upgrades, you have those older cards that kind of set your foundation, right? So, and then when I did graduate from Colorado School of Mines, I got my bachelor's and master's there, and I started working at CenturyLink. Then it came the time to kind of really upgrade, right? That's when I really got serious of, okay, well, let's do some experiments. One of my courses in graduate school talked about the Fair Isaacs Corporation, that's what FICO actually stands for. The originators in 1990 or 89 that actually came up with that model of determining credit worthiness that's used and kind of manipulated throughout different institutions. that's when I was like, okay, I did my research and kind of learned a little bit of how they model it, and then we'll see if we can really manipulate it, right? And so I remember getting, credit cards like almost like a madman. Every couple of months, I have a new credit card. I got, some really fancy ones. I think I have a couple of them that actually have an annual fee. But most of mine are no annual fees or things of that nature, so I'm not actually paying for it if I'm not using it. But I was also very strategic, and so like for example my Southwest credit card or my Hilton one that I use as lots of the hotels that I ended up staying at for different bodybuilding competitions were Hilton, and so it managed to get that special membership and discounts for those hotels, kind of thinking strategically long term, will this card yield benefits besides being able to give me points and pay for it, right? And that's essentially the roll up of how everything got to this point from a credit card standpoint. Now there's other things in the background working on my credit, and those are mainly my student loans. Now for my student loans, I didn't actually have any payments for them until I graduated, so they were just in the back of my mind all the way up until I started working. But ever since they've been active, well, all of my private ones that I got originally was Wells Fargo, and since I didn't have a credit score, my rate, I had a co-signer. My grandmother, bless her heart, helped me get those loans. I had a co-signer help me get those loans, and I wanted to get them out of her name so that they wasn't impacting her in any way, and I wanted to use this newly built credit score to get an extremely low rate. Because I think some of these loans for 15, 16%, like it was insane, some of these loans, especially the ones I got for like my freshman and sophomore year when I didn't have any credit whatsoever. And so what I did is almost immediately when I was able to get a couple of pay cycles in at CenturyLink, I went and refinanced all those at I think 6%. I had about 5 different loans with Wells Fargo, had them all consolidated with SoFi, and had about a 6% rate, if I believe, and had that set on auto pay. Set it and forget it. Once you set up those automatic payments, the risk of you missing a payment is very, very low. You still want to, of course, keep an eye on it, every month, make sure that money's coming out, make sure it's hitting all of those accounts, and then you should be good to go. So, just to kind of wrap things up, I know the video is getting long, as I have a lot of things I want to talk about, just to summarize everything into a nice little bow. Getting those credit cards early, being financially responsible, understanding the obligation to make sure those payments and those balances are taken care of each summer, each year, building that portfolio of different credit cards in a strategic fashion where I can use it for flights or travel and things of that nature that support my other hobbies, and just being very due diligent on paying down the balances on my student loans has gotten me to the point of having an 825, depending on which model you use, right? Which site you're looking at. So thank you for tuning in. If there's any questions, anything you want me to expound upon, please let me know. I do want to continue making these videos, and I hope I can kind of leverage all the things that I've learned and kind of have accumulated over the years to really share this knowledge and be able to break it down in a simplistic and understandable way for all of you. So until next time, I'll see you later.